get planes coming in and getting them loaded, have medical screening, have security vetting, have diplomatic presence on the ground to make sure that we're putting the right people on planes, but also defend that airport from external threats. That's pretty remarkable. And so for all this talk of chaos, I just didn't see it, not from my perch.
But in hindsight, in reading this, does the president have any regrets about how this withdrawal was carried out?
The president's very proud of the manner in which the men and women of the military, the foreign service, the intelligence community, I went on and on and on, conducted this withdrawal. And he inherited a deal struck between the previous administration and the Taliban that called for the complete removal of all U.S. troops by May of 2021, or else the Taliban, which had stopped its attacks while the deal was in place, would go back to war against the United States.
There was a time in this country, really in every country, where failures, especially military failures, are met with harsh rebukes, resignations, firings, sometimes even worse throughout history. Now, they get up there and they declare that it was a rousing success. Oh, and it was also the other guy's fault. I cannot believe what's happened. Joining me now, Colonel Grant Newsham, former reserve head of intelligence for Marine Forces Pacific and author of the book, which we're going to get to in a moment, When China Attacks. Colonel, Semper Fi, I cannot, look, I'm not even old. I was just a 4-year dumb grunt Marine. And even when I was in, there was always accountability. If you had a bad patrol, there was accountability. Now the entire nation can embarrass itself in front of the world. No one gets fired.
Yeah, that's you said it. It leaves you almost speechless. As you said, who's to blame for what happened in Afghanistan? Apparently it was leprechauns who did it. It would be nice just to have somebody say, look, yeah, we screwed up. We made some mistakes, but we're going to learn from it. And I have not seen anybody take any responsibility for what has happened. And now you have this fellow on TV claiming it was actually a great success. Well, if he thinks it was, why doesn't he go to Camp Pendleton and maybe address the 1st Marine Division, or go to the Veterans Hospital where the people who lost limbs in this abomination, where they are? Maybe why doesn't he go there and tell them what a great success it was? He won't. But this is something that I think that it's nauseating for most people. Just this complete lack of accountability for what has happened. If a Lance Corporal had done something, even remotely like this, or we know what Lance Corporals do, they would be absolutely hammered. In our case, it's upward promotions and end of tour awards. This is bad. We used to laugh about Saddam Hussein's spokesman, so-called Baghdad Bob, who said, nothing to see here. Well, there's American tanks, just outside the palace. We used to laugh about them, and we've kind of become like that. You don't say that with any sort of satisfaction. But I suppose at our ruling class level, they have opportunity to excel, is how one might charitably put it.
Gosh, that's a really great way to put it, and man, does that hit home. All right, I argue that was part of what has led this aggressive behavior by China. Not that China wasn't aggressive before, but they see things like this, they see weakness, stupidity, no accountability. Surely the Chinese look at that stuff and they start licking their chops for other opportunities that may be presented to them.
Well, that's what they do. There's that kind of a regime. I think Matt Pottinger, formerly with National Security Council, described it as a shark that's going around, just swims around looking for something to eat. And if it comes across steel, let's say a shark cage, it kind of goes away, but it's always looking for something to eat. And they do make this equation, or this calculation, as to how likely are the Americans in particular to do something to us. And they'll look at an administration, and they'll look at whether it's confused, if it's preoccupied elsewhere, if it doesn't look like it has backbone. And that all goes into their calculation when deciding what to do and where to make a move. And they like what they saw in Afghanistan. And I'm not so sure who it is in this administration that actually scares them. And as I don't say that with any sort of pleasure. But they will look at it and say, well, who are we afraid of? In the last administration, they could tell you who it was. It was Mike Pompeo, Pottinger, Miles Yu, Dave Stilwell, Peter Navarro. And they wanted those people gone. Well, they got their wish. And I think they're probably happier with what they have now.